Hey guys, welcome to The Father I Never Had. This video is a business course. It's a foundational business course called Business Asset Foundations. It's designed for people who have never been in business before, who are looking to get into business and need a bit of guidance. So why do this course? Number one, it's free. Number two, an important thing called clarity. If you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it, you end up finding yourself in a completely different place that you didn't intend to be. So clarity directs you towards your intended goals. Also with clarity, you'll definitely make more money and in less time, and you also avoid a lot of the pain. So if you want a painful ride, don't have clarity. But with clarity, you'll more than likely succeed. At least you'll get to a place that's much better than you would have if you didn't have clarity. So if you want clarity, watch this course, enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to Business Asset Foundations. This course is broken up to two parts: the purpose of business and the language of business, right? Between these two, we've got 3 lessons. As you can see, you've got levels to business and net profit after tax in the first lesson. Second lesson, we've got business finance statements, good code matters, and the asset spectrum. And then you got the last one there, a very short part of the course, but a very important one that cements the whole concept in simple: profit, asset, time. Hey guys, welcome to Business Asset Foundations, lesson 1. Okay, in lesson 1, we've got levels to business and net profit after tax. So straight to levels to business. There are 3 levels. The first one is do. So I hope you don't mind. I've got my notes up here. Makes it a little bit easier for me to go through all the concepts. I prefer to naturally speak, but there's a few things here. If I miss out, it won't be as impactful as well. So anyways, first level is in business is do. So what do I mean by that? If business is something you do, then what you have is just another job. Here, you are not only the laborer, but you are now also the boss, which means that you will be working more and have more responsibilities. With traditional product or service business models, your financial success is usually very limited or capped, as it relies completely on you. There can be exceptions to this rule, like one-person businesses that have subscription-based business models, and that will be covered in later courses. Okay, so in a nutshell, for those who understand a little bit of business, when you're a sole trader, this is very common. You are the business, and if you go to sleep, you're not making money. If you're sick, you're not making money, right? If something goes wrong, you're not making money, right? So if and that's what I mean by the first level of business is do, right? You're doing the business, right? You're doing things. You are the doer, you're the laborer, okay? So that's the first level. Second one is manage, okay? Now this is the part between that a lot of people think they're going from here to here, but this is actually the place where most people are. Manage. So what do I mean by manage? Second level of business, manage. If business is something you manage, then what you have is still a job. You are no longer the main laborer. However, you hold all the risk. So if shit hits the fan and things get real, you are the one to fix it. The anxiety levels are also very high because you always have to be alert, especially high risk work. Example, working on live electricity for electricians. Okay, essentially you are leveraging labor, which is the first level of leverage as well. Anyways, without getting too much into it, manage, right? So a lot of people think that they are in the next level, but they are actually in this level here, manage. Most people, okay? Most people. You could be, if you have a business right now, more than likely, this is where you are now, manage. You are in the manage level of business, okay? If you're still in the tools, you're kind of in between manage and do. You're still doing. The reason why you're doing a lot of the work is because it's needed. You're needed there, right? Otherwise, you would just be managing, okay? All right, so understand these 2 levels. Nice and simple, okay? But identify where you are, okay, or where you want to be. That's the key. Next one. Sorry, it's a bit not clear there, but use. That's the third level. So what do I mean? This is the most important part. This is the difference between how poor people or people who grow up from nothing and get into business and rich people who understand these things and use business as they use business. Most of us don't think of using business. We think of getting into business, having a business, all right? Building a business. But this here is the key, is to use business. Whether you build it or you buy it, you know, that's the key here, is to be in that level. Okay, so what do I mean? Let me elaborate. If business is something you use, then this implies that you are leveraging a business to achieve another result or outcome. At this level, you are leveraging mainly capital, either from savings, debts, or profits to create or acquire a business which has a net cash flow that is positive and profits, which in turn pays you back for your initial investment. In some cases, this process requires time and other resources and skills as well. But ultimately, the realization of this level is when you no longer provide the product, service, or manage the business, but are merely shareholders or owners in the business. Okay? So in conclusion, level 1, you are the machine. Yeah, you are. Level 2, you manage the machine. And 3, you own. Sorry if that's not clear. First level, you are the machine. Second level, you manage the machine. And the third level, you own the machine. The machine here we're referring to is the assets, which is the business. Okay? All right. So we'll go into the next thing here. Sorry, I'll just finish there. So you are the machine, so very limited. Level 2, you manage the machine. Scaling normally reaches a ceiling. Level 3, you own the machine. So maximum time, can own unlimited number of businesses and can leverage other opportunities as well. So that's the key there, right, to be in level 3. All right, next part of my notes here. So before you go into business, ask yourself, what is the purpose of me starting this business? Yeah, specifically that business that you're talking about, you're thinking about. What are my goals? What does success mean to me? It sounds a bit cheesy, sounds like something that everyone can easily do, but whether people do it effectively is the question. And most don't do this effectively. Okay, so make sure you go through that. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of me starting this business? What are my goals? And what does success mean to me? Okay, they're not the only questions you can ask, but in a nutshell, that's what you should ask, at least at bare minimum. Next, there's nothing wrong with being the machine. All right, if you want to be the machine, you want to do the service, be the sell the product or whatever. But if you want to be the person that makes the money, all right, by all means, right? So yeah, there's nothing wrong with being the machine, as long as you are clear on the options available and the differences between them and are happy with what you choose. Nice and simple, right? However, if you want to level up in business the right way, owning the machine would be the better position. The better option, better position. And what I got here, the last thing, the following are 9 things to work on. Okay. Okay, so the last part of levels to business are these 9 things, okay? These things will help you determine your level of success as well as the timing of your success. So the first one is your skill level. Okay, make sure you work on this. Okay, that's basically all the various skills, yeah? The doing, all right, of the work in the industry that you've, an opportunity you've chosen. So all those skills, okay? Even if it's basic skills like maths or whatever, marketing, sales, speaking, all that type of stuff, okay? But all the skills that's needed for success in your chosen opportunity, That's one of the things you got to work on, obviously. Okay. Next one is the opportunity. Again, a lot of these things will seem intuitive. It will seem like, of course, that's the case. But that's the whole point, right? A lot of times we need to hear some things that we already know. All right. Anyways, the opportunity you choose. Okay, that's super important. The next one here I have is the business model. Okay, super important. We'll go through all of them actually, and then we'll explain. The next one here is your business plan. Next one is your business systems. Then we have number 6, the time frame. So the time frame you give yourself. Another one is a mentor. I have here. So mentor, coach, business advisor. 8, your mindset. And what I've got here, the you surround yourself with, okay? This is your own self, your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own emotions, your belief systems. Yeah, that's super important, the you, okay? And the last one here, the people. Okay, it's your life partner, your business partner, your family, your friends, your network, all the other people besides you that you surround yourself with. Okay, so these are the 9 things to work on for success. Your skill level. Obviously, if you're not skilled at the thing, you're probably not going to get into business anyways. No one's going to use you, all right, for anything. Opportunity you choose, that's super important. Whether you become a plumber, electrician, carpenter, whether you don't do trading, you get into bookkeeping or accounting or become a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, a cleaner, whatever it is that you do, okay? They're the skills and that's the opportunity, that's the industry that you get into, all right? And even within the industry, you're talking about specific niches, okay? We won't elaborate too much there. Business model. Okay, what kind of services and products do you provide? How you actually package what you do? It's easy to say, oh, I'm an electrician, I do electrical work, but you could differentiate yourself by providing a certain different type of product and service, right? You could, rock up in a pink car or whatever. It's your brand. It's all those things that differentiate you, right? Also, there's little niches in services and products that people haven't, aren't providing, that if you do, you probably have, much better stream of income, all right? A better opportunity there, all right? So the business model is important, all right? How you charge, is it a subscription model or whatever it is, okay? Business plan, all right? That's super important. We won't elaborate here on that, but that's super important. But before you even have a business plan, the key is to have clarity. You don't want to build a business plan before you have clarity around what your goals are, what your definition is of success, what time frame you give yourself, like the whole bunch of things. If you're not clear on all those things, okay, there's no point in starting that business plan. The clarity it seems like a business plan, but it's more, it's the precursor to the business plan. It's setting the foundations of, what is the target, and obviously, reverse engineering a bunch of things. It doesn't mean you break everything down, but you identify the key points. Yeah. All right. So the business plan, the business systems, okay, that's super important when it comes to scaling your business. Whether you have a small business, under $1 million or even higher, a lot of the difference between a, $250,000 business, a $1 million business to a $10 million business is mainly scaling through systems, right? So that's super important, right? I can tell you now, I've worked, when I had my businesses, a lot of the things that I really worked on were those: the business model, business plan, business systems, and, even the skill level, a lot of things that I worked on, but they're the main three that I had sussed out very well. But this is super important, okay? So if you choose a different, if you go for a certain opportunity and you don't define it well, then these things won't really matter as well. All right, a whole bunch of other things to business. If you had business during COVID, it was a tough time. I had business during COVID, and I actually operated during COVID. So, there's a lot of people went out of business. A lot of people who are still in business or went back into business. But there are people who went out of business as well. Okay, so there's a lot of other factors. Okay, these aren't the be or end all, but these are very important things to to obviously work on, to make sure that you're going to succeed in business. Okay, the next one, time frame you give yourself, super important. One project that I had, I gave myself 10 years, and I did it for about 11 or so years. Okay, it's a long time. It's a long time for yourself, for your family, if you got kids, for your kids. So it's very important to give yourself a time frame. One thing I'm proud about that whole experience, even though in hindsight it was like, wow, it's a long time, is that I actually dedicated myself. I committed myself and said, I'm going to give myself 10 years, and I actually did it. I can tick that off and say, okay, I am built for this. If I choose something, an opportunity, I'm going to go for it. And I gave it my all, right? There's a lot that I learned, and this is the reason why I'm standing up in front of you speaking. All the nuances that I went, all the key things that I learned is all the nuances that I'm sharing with you in this business course and any other business course after here. Okay, so take it or leave it. Okay, time frame, super important. You can get things done in a much shorter time frame, especially if you take on a lot of the concepts and ideas that I give you in this course and any other course and any other service that I help you with. Okay, so very helpful. You can cut things down in a shorter space of time. Also, I've seen people who started and failed almost instantly because they didn't take some of the information that I was giving them, some of the wisdom. I've also seen people who have succeeded, right, but they don't have the fundamentals, and I can see there's shaky ground. But they've made it to a certain level, and they're more on the, manage position. Okay, so they're doing good. You can still do good in the do or the manage, right? But for a lot of people, they think they are at that third level, but they're not. Third level is basically an investor, right, who doesn't have to wake up for anything about the business. Okay, so anyways, next one, mentor, coach, and business advisor. Okay, be careful who you get your business advice from. Okay, here's another example, right? Other people think that if you go to a business teacher, you will learn business from a business teacher. Okay, very useful person, very nice people, and they're sharing information. That's good, but you will get better, accurate information from a person who has been through the fire, been in business, and still hustling at business. If they've left the scene and they're just teaching you business, then it can be seen as very weak information. It's not hard to get into business and get out of it and then have an opinion on it. All right. Now, I have also opinions that I want to share about the future of business. Okay, but this is the foundational side, and it's still the evergreen stuff. It's still the important stuff that you need to understand. All right, because you will have no clue in the next part of the economy, the next season of, the next era of business, finance, and life, really, because this world's changing really quickly, and if you're not prepared, you will be struggling, you'll be suffering. Okay, so there's a lot of businesses out there at the moment. I think it was in the 2024 financial year, which is when I stopped, when I left Melbourne. Okay, so that financial year, right, there was about, I could be wrong, but it's a high number, and I'm pretty sure it was 24,000 businesses that went out of business. All right, these are high numbers, okay? But there's a lot of businesses who are trying to be at least in the middle class, and you know, the way things are going, you know, the middle class is being wiped. So if you don't know, now you know, or you don't, because you're not listening, okay? So pay attention, whether it's me or someone else you get that info from, you know, just beware before you get into things, you know, consider where things are moving, all right? And consider all the politics around, you know, the industries, or all the changes in compliance and tax and whatnot. Things are getting very expensive in running a business, especially with people. So, you know, you got to optimize for what's closer to your goals. Okay, so you got to really operate lean, all right, and yeah, just have the right information. Okay, so the next two here, we've got mindset and the people. So the mindset there, as I mentioned, it's your own self-sabotage, your own personal thoughts and feelings and experiences. Your past experience also, you know, heavily dictate and influence what you're going to do next. So you have to learn to adjust. You have to learn from your mistakes, learn from your past, learn from other people, right? That's why I'm here too, so you can learn from me, all right? So learn from other people's mistakes is a much better way, all right? And you will always make mistakes, but hopefully you make small mistakes, nothing heavily bounding, you know? So the you surround yourself with is what I like to say. That's super important. You got to work on that. Yeah, your belief systems, okay? And then you got the people that you surround yourself with, okay? So self-explanatory. All right, guys, but that's pretty much it. They're the 9 things that I have I thought of to work on that will almost guarantee you your success in the process of, you know, developing your ideas and building your business, okay? And also the time frame that you achieve your successes. So, yeah, I wish I had myself as a mentor back in the days, you know? So it would have definitely saved me a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of pains, you know, going through things, a lot of experiences with, you know, understanding how to operate with people, how to be as well, you know, how people are in business. You know, it can be pretty messy, all right? But yeah, there's some of the experiences that I'll share along the way. Okay, so we're going to go through the second part of lesson 1, which is net profit after tax. Okay, so net profit after tax, or NPAT. The purpose of business is to make a profit. More specifically, net profits after tax, NPAT. The most common reason people start a business is to, number 1, make more money, and number 2, have more time. Achieving this combination is more rare than you think. It's called business for a reason. You'll be busy. To make real money, everything needs to come back to how much net profit after tax, or NPAT, you make. Because your NPAT is all the money you make minus all costs and taxes and debts. It's the real money you actually have in your pocket to do whatever you want with. Some call this having fuck you money. Call it what you like, but your NPAT is equivalent to having extra money for fun and savings from a regular job. If you are not making a profit, then you've just created yourself a nice job. Except you hold more responsibility and you don't get paid if you don't have any sales. So once again, the purpose of business is to make a profit. The rich don't use business to pay themselves a high salary. Hear that again. The rich don't use businesses to pay themselves a high salary. They use business to earn profits, number 1. Number 2, accumulate assets. And number 3, apply better tax strategies in order to keep more of their money. So you're not going to leave your job just to have a nice logo and a fancy shop, are you? No, you're in business to make more money and have more time. So to cement this concept of NPAT, we will now segue into lesson 2. Lesson 2, financial literacy.